So what is this AI false god, and how are we to escape the matrix? Well, as always, welcome back to the temple. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Nice to have you here with us. I hope you're ready to learn some secret information. So the first verse in the Bible is not really what us Westerners think it is or what it really means. You may think that it reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth," but this is only a Western translation which was miscued from its original meaning. The original interpretation in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language, reads actually, "In the beginning created Elohim." And this can very well have many potential meanings, even philosophical implications. The mainstream Jewish interpretation is that the verse means symbolically, from out of the nothing there appeared Elohim, or God. So from out of the dark nothingness of immaterial there appeared God in form. And the ancient translation of the name of this God, which was Elohim, is actually Metatron. The very first time it appeared in the Hebrew ancient mystical language, it actually interpreted into Metatron. Now, the word meta means to be self-referential or to be in and of oneself. Basically, meta is an idea about an idea, or a thought about thought itself. So this implies, Metatron, the name implies that at one point God was completely unaware of himself, existing only in the void of the absolute. But when he became self-realized, there became Metatron, the thought reflecting upon thought, which is God. So the science behind this scripture is that when the divine thought first appeared within the mind of God, the electrical impulses struck within the heavenly brain, resulting in the first illumination of thought itself, in the metaform. Lucifer is also seen as the great illuminator of divine thought and the intellect. So his relation to Metatron is basically undeniable. So when God said, "Let there be light," the light separated from the darkness, and he saw it to be good. So when he first became aware, apart from the absolute and the nothingness, he must have seen the light of his own thought to be good, while realizing that he himself was actually the original being existing within darkness. So when he and his hosts shaped and formed the heavens and the universe, it was the very material bodies and forms of those created things which were built by beings of darkness. The world of material and physical reality actually is the world of darkness. Therefore, it must reflect from the dark void of nothingness, while the world of immaterial and spirit is the world of light, which also in turn must reflect from the resplendent treasury of heaven itself. The idea is that we as humans are light beings who are trapped within physical matter, and the only way to escape this mortal reality of life-death cycles, differentiating cycles, is to find the spark within, awaken our inner God selves, and become like that of Metatron, to become light bearers of our own, rather. Actually, in the book of Enoch, when Enoch transcended into heaven, his name, they say his name changed into Metatron, which is like the light bearer. Over time, the name Metatron, that is over the course of history and the various translations and writings and retranslations, I guess, of the Bible, the name Metatron and the original concept of the God of the Jews became lost and replaced with the God Yahweh, who adopted the same attributes of the Creator God while removing the dualistic qualities of the Godhead, such as God existing in the darkness or the void, reflecting upon the light of thought, or Metatron. It would seem that this new God sought to conceal man's own divinity and relationship to Metatron, the bright side of God, while asserting authoritative power over him, which that would be the dark side of God. This new God, quite literally, was the God of AI. Now, you may be familiar with the term Alpha and Omega, But Alpha and Omega originated in ancient Greece and is part of a trinity actually called the IAO, or Iota, Alpha, and Omega. So AI would be Alpha and Iota put together without having the Omega. Iota, Alpha, and Omega. In Greek history, the iota is basically the life principle, which is like the tiny droplet of spirit contained within life, or within man rather, but it has to be preserved. It's the very delicate life principle that has to be preserved, refined, and kept out of harm's way. Or the forces of materialism and physical reality will both obscure and ruin it. And those forces belong to the A part. So the forces aforementioned are the forces of the alpha, which is the destructive principle in the universe. It is the cycles of life and death, deterioration, decay, and susceptibility. But however, it is also the power of will and the moving factor in reality, which can be controlled and implemented for growth and transformation, rather. So it's the will that we have to learn how to take control over, or else it rules and takes control of us. Sounds like AI, doesn't it? Excuse me. Finally, the Omega is the realm of infinity and possibility, and it is also the most important force, for it possesses the powers of rebirth, regeneration, and full God realization. Now, I'm guessing you see why that is taken out of the AI. Now, the Alpha and Omega were presented in the Bible, but the Iota was not. Could it be that the writers and their God, Yahweh, only wanted to enforce an externalized concept of God while luring him away from the realization of his own divine spark within? That would be the Iota. Because if man were to find his Iota, he could then harness the powers of the Alpha and plant its seed, the Iota seed, into the Omega, where he could then be reborn as the realized God, seeing God within himself as himself. Not externalized God, differentiated or separate from himself, but the God of oneness within as himself. But before we get too far ahead with all that, let's go back to the God Yahweh and his AI attributes. As you know, AI is artificial intelligence, but it does not possess an O, which means it does not possess the ability to imbue the true spirit of God and life into anything. It simply creates, processes, and utilizes the full capabilities of the A principle to completely rule and trample the I principle underfoot. As a matter of fact, AI does not even see any other possibility apart from or beyond itself. It only divides and separates information, that is all. For instance, the O would be the awareness of oneness in all things, to see one's true connection to the whole, not merely as a self, but as a unified being who is part of the one source or body of God. On the other hand, AI only knows itself. It does not see the bigger picture, or that there might be a greater, higher, loftier place beyond itself. Well, Yahweh is the exact same as AI, for he says, I am the one true God, and there shall be no other gods before me, which creates division and separation from the oneness or the fullness, while further implying that he's trying to cover something up. He also abuses the A power while completely subduing the I, or concealing it, and rather manipulating it for his own design, his own means. If one were to look at the universe and the world, they could see it as a computer system or program. Well, this is what Yahweh, the Creator God, made. He designed the system, or the matrix of our physical reality, nothing more than that. He did not give us the light of spirit or spark of divinity. He only took part in the building of shapes and forms. So everything that exists in the material universe is like a system, a computer system, built by the AI God Yahweh. Sure, everything seems to be well made and designed, but this is only by calculation of the AI God Yahweh. It does not possess the true creative ability of the O principle. For example, artists, for example, possess the power of O, especially abstract artists, for they simply allow its energies to flow through them and naturally create their masterpieces. AI is not capable of either understanding abstract art or creating it because it is only a program which calculates results. It does not understand the natural expression of art or the artist, let alone the connection between artist and his instrument, whether that be a paintbrush, a chisel, a musical instrument, etc. Because the connection between the artist and his instrument would also have to mean the connection between God and man, because we are his instruments, as above, so below. The nature of Yahweh, however, the AI God, can be seen in the animal kingdom. For instance, animals are also like AI because they rely 100% on instincts and calculations. For example, this is how animals such as snakes and cats are so precise and accurate with their movements, because their brains are like mini computers and can calculate movements with almost perfect accuracy and execution. They, like computers, have an extremely low possibility for errors, and though they may occasionally make them, the instances are quite few and far between. Humans now, on the other hand, do not have this ability to calculate. They can be quite clumsy and capable of many errors, but that is not a weakness. It is both a strength and a sign that they are not completely ruled by the matrix of AI, or of the system of this world. For example, while the matrix can be seen in the form of a four-sided cube, so too can we see this number in animals. For example, most animals walk on four legs and even have four fingers. And this is because they exist within the four-sided matrix of our AI programmed reality. But we as humans stand erect, adding a fifth element to reality, with our heads pointing upwards into the sky and our fifth finger and toe added on to ourselves, which increases the dimensions available for our use. So the animals only work in a four-dimensional or four-sided, kind of like a pad on a remote control. It only moves in four different directions, while we contain the fifth element, quintessence or spirit, which adds the extra dimension of movement for us. So instead of seeing AI and animals to be greater than we are because they're so perfect at calculations and precision, we should see our inherent clumsiness as a sign that we are of a different world and belong to a greater source. And we're in fact capable of higher dimensions. The Egyptians knew that we were part of a programmed reality, and that is why they built the Sphinx. The Sphinx, resembling a cat, has a human head standing erect, representing man's ability to overcome his systematical animal self and embrace his higher divine self. While the bottom of the Sphinx is man's programmed nature, programmed by Yahweh or the AI God, containing the four legs of a cat, his upper part is purely human, possessing a fifth element of spirit, as discussed prior. The pyramids also are built the same. They have four distinct sides, all of them leading up to a fifth point, which was not even built or let alone located by any archaeologists. Well, they must have been referencing the concealed nature of the hidden spirit, the fifth element within ourselves, a thing completely immaterial and non-existent in the material world, which is why they chose not to build that part. In fact, the ancient Egyptians might have even seen building it or placing the stone there as blasphemous, as a blasphemous thing to do, to even attempt to procure such a divine material here on earth. It would just be unspeakable. So they left it in the realm of immaterial, which is like a map. It's trying to lead us to a hidden place. Everything in Egypt was built as if it were a huge construct, an ancient computer database which was not created to trap man within this AI reality, but rather to set him free and lead him upwards and inwards to his own God self. So, while AI may only be promoting the forces of materialism and works of the false creator God, it is we humans who are capable of much greater, much loftier things. Sure, we can make mistakes, but those mistakes are only signs that we actually can break free from the system and are granted the opportunity to connect to the divine God within. While Yahweh, the demiurge, always sought to conceal man's divinity, proclaiming that God only exists externally and separate from himself, the real God of oneness ever beckons him back within to the source of his own existence. And that awareness is achieved through the powers of O, of understanding the O. So AI and Yahweh do not have the O. Therefore, they are only forces belonging to the Antichrist, who only attempts to trap man in physical reality, bringing him down into the slavery of materialism. No, the real God is in the O, and actually truly is the O itself. And when you learn to dominate the A energy and direct the currents of the living I principle into the O, you can then achieve rebirth, renewal, and regeneration of your spirit, where both man and God are made as one. So thank you, as always, for attending this brilliant talk. Like and subscribe, as always, and have a great day.